let's go to one a little more complex, and this is going to be a darted skirt. But it depends on if you wear this better, you need to make this type, and it won't have a lot of bulk around the waist. Okay, so you have a dart, and you need to make sure that your darts work on your body, so be sure that the amount of the dart is going to work with the fullness of your tummy. So that needs to be taken into consideration when you were doing the adjustments. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mark that dart. And so I just use some tracing paper and a tracing wheel, and you see I just follow that. The tracing paper is folded, and I just follow that, and then you see that there's the dart on both sides. You need to do them both at the same time, otherwise you're going to end up with one that's not the length that's the same or the right spot. So be sure and always do both of them the same by folding it. So now, people ask me a lot of times, do you stay stitch? And I'm like, well, yeah. And the reason I stay stitch is this type of a skirt has a little bit of a curve. And if you have ever not stay stitched and you have a little bit of a soft fabric, you will end up with this stretching out, and it will distort when the curve will get distorted, and you won't have the same fit. So when you stay stitch with the threads, and you see how the threads are kind of moving this direction. Well, then I go from the side to the center and I stop. And then I come from this side to the center and I stop again. So you want to be sure that you stay stitched correctly, because if you just went all the way across like that, it would actually pull, in some fabrics it would actually pull this part and distort it to the side a little bit. So that's the reason why you do this. And especially around a neckline, that is very important to do that. Now let's talk about sewing in the dart. Here's a dart that I sewed in, and I hope you can see what I did. The way that I do, you don't back stitch when you do a dart at the bottom of the point. You start out, and when you fold the fabric, of course, you fold both of these so that it matches your line that you marked, and then you're going to stitch. You can back stitch right here, but when you get down here, about an inch or a quarter of an inch from the edge, or half inch from the edge, begin to take your stitch length a little shorter or closer, and so as your stitch length comes closer, your stitches will stick a little bit, they'll be a little bit more firmer together, and you won't have to back stitch. And then I keep stitching off the fabric, and so the last couple of stitches right here, last couple of threads here have a little twist in it, and then I don't have to even knot off. Now part of that is because I took my stitch length very, very close. Have you ever tried to take out a stitch that is real close and real tight? You can't get it to budge. So that is as good as back stitching. And in a lot of the couture books, you will hear that that is the way that you can actually, instead of back stitching, that's the way that you finish off the ends of your seams. Okay, so now we've got the darts in, do the front and the back the same way. And now we're going to go over and we're going to talk about the next little thing that happens is the zipper. Now in the next segment, after this one, I'm going to tell you all about zippers. So I'm only going to hit just real close, real lightly on this one right now, so that you know how to do it basically. I always put a invisible zipper in, but I know there are other zippers, and I know many people just, oh, invisible zipper. But if you try it one time, you will really know what I'm talking about. It hides, and you don't have to worry about your stitches being a little bit crooked. And look in the stores. There is nothing that is made that doesn't have an invisible zipper in it. And they're ready. They're there at the stores for you. You can buy them now. So basically, I'm just going to tell you the real quick things that you can do here. You have a special foot. You're going to stitch the right side of the zipper face down on the right side of the fabric. That's the first step, and you're going to stitch down. Now for some reason in the instructions they do it the opposite way. Every time I did it the opposite way on this side, I got confused. So I always do it on this side, on my right side, and put this face down. Okay, so then I'm going to get that down, go all the way down the corner, and flip this over, and then I'm going to take my right side and put it down, and then I'm going to flip this back. Now I'm actually going to show you this in the next segment so you can see it at the sewing machine. So this is a little introduction to how easy it goes in. And then at the bottom of this, you're going to just come down and stitch from the point that you stopped, and you'll pull this back. And like I said, I'm going to show you that very shortly, and you will understand how easy it is. And so now we have the skirt all together. Well, I shouldn't say all together, we still have the band to do. So I want to show you a couple of ways that you can do the band. First of all, here's my zipper, and this is actually an invisible zipper, and it's a totally different color and you barely see. But here is the way that most of the bands will tell you that they go on. You stitch the band on, and then you understitch. So that means that you take the facing. This is actually a facing, not a band, I'm sorry. This is the facing. You're going to take the facing and you're going to turn it up, and then you're going to stitch right on the edge of the facing onto the seam allowance. So that helps to turn this and make it so that it doesn't peek up. I purposely did this in a different color so you could see the transition between the two of these. So this is one way to do it, and this is what I end up feeling like I have a lot of bulk and problems with, is that as you turn this just like this, you end up with a lot of bulk right underneath here, and then it's real hard. And then you have to stitch down here, and you got to make sure that you don't get into the zipper. So you want to be sure that you move it over slightly. One neat thing that I have discovered, and that is to take away, when I'm stitching, before I stitch the top of the band, before I stitch this top right here, I take away some of this seam allowance on just this part, just the facing. I take away about 1/4 of an inch, and then I meet this, and then when I stitch this, then I stitch this, and then I stitch across this, and I can actually turn that down, and look how clean that will end up to be. Do you see? That's all stitched down. Now all you have to do if you're going to do something with a band is just stitch the edge together and flip it over. Okay? Now I haven't got a whole lot of time left, so if you want to see how to put the zippers in, you be sure and stay tuned and come back, and we will see you.